Daniela Carrasco is a symbol of human rights protest in Chile. After she was apprehended, she was found dead in her home. In order to draw attention to this murder, Chilean feminist collective Las Tesis organized the protest with dancing. Women around the world repeated this demonstration with words in their own languages, protesting the killing of women, sexual attacks, and abuses against them. In Indonesia, the young women who founded the metal group, Voice of Bass Prot, were accused of behavior inappropriate to Islam. Despite receiving hundreds of death threats, they continue making music in which they defend gender equality in their society.
Duvarlarda aşırı çirkin yazılar var, cinsiyetçi yazılar.
In Diyarbakır's historic Sur quarter, 4 female painters are covering sexist obscenity on the walls along the streets with their own paintings. Painting over the obscenities with traditional female figures, the women are using art to challenge sexism.
Ders olsun hani insanlara.
In Germany, 71-year-old Irmela Mensa-Schramm is removing neo-Nazi decals on Berlin streets with acetone, digging out Nazi symbols and racist graffiti with a spatula, and covering hateful images with spray paint.
Zu gut ist mir gelingt.
Ich werde immer blockieren.
First thing you need to do is grab your lash curler, curl your lashes, obviously. Then you're going to put them down and use your phone that you're using right now to search up what's happening in China, how they're getting concentration camps.
In her TikTok makeup tutorials, Feroza Aziz in the United States began talking about the Chinese government's oppressive policies in Xinjiang to draw attention to the human rights abuses suffered by the Uyghurs there.
Yet no one is talking about it. Please be aware. Please spread awareness. And yeah. So you can grab your lash curler again.
In Greece, the Support Art Workers Initiative released a video in support of Group Yorum, whose members are still being tried, and more than 120 of whose concerts have been banned. More than 120 artists came together in Athens and performed Kardeş Türküler's Tencere Tava Havası, sending a message of solidarity against censorship and oppression. In Hong Kong, there were mass protests against the suggestion to send apprehended suspects to China to be judged. Noting that the Chinese justice system is not transparent and that this practice may put rights defenders and journalists at risk, the protesters' voice was heard in support of demonstrations held around the world. In Istanbul, the 18th Pride March was carried out online. On a map prepared for the march with the theme hashtag Ben Neredeyim, Where Am I, participants chose the desired map location, banner, and slogan to demonstrate that they were everywhere.
Take your knee off off our necks! Take your knee off our necks! Take your knee off our necks! Take your knee off our necks! Take your knee off our necks! Take your knee off our necks! Justice!
In the United States, the murder of George Floyd by a white policeman gave rise to a widespread protest movement.
Black Lives Matter!
Drawing attention to the deeply rooted discrimination suffered by African Americans, the Black Lives Matter movement continues to raise awareness and monitor changes in the system.
Justice! Hands up! Hands up!
İstanbul Sözleşmesi yaşasın! İstanbul Sözleşmesi!
When it was announced that Turkey would withdraw from the Istanbul Convention, which stipulated the prevention and punishment of all forms of violence against women, women in various places around the country began demonstrating.
Kadınlar için 62
Despite police violence and prohibitions, women of all ages from every city are demanding their right to life with the slogan, "We will not lose another."
Kadınlar eşit yaşayacak!
Protests began against India's new citizenship law, which granted citizenship to refugees of various religious groups coming from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh, but denied this right to Muslims. Despite curfews, blockages of telephones and transportation, and arrests of local party members, the protests continue. Hundreds of lawyers and bar association chairs from around Turkey marched towards Ankara in an effort to prevent the enactment of the Multiple Bar Associations Bill that sought to render bar associations ineffective. Despite all the obstructions, the lawyers managed to gather in Ankara, emphasizing the indispensable nature of independence of the judiciary and the rule of law. In Lebanon, in the wake of the explosion in the Beirut port that claimed the lives of around 200 people and left thousands without homes, people from Beirut and other cities joined forces to mobilize aid. Despite the challenging circumstances, the volunteers got swiftly organized to support those whose homes have been destroyed with food and water, cleaned up collapsed buildings and streets, helped to find lost articles, and secure shelter for people left homeless. As we continue to be tested by the pandemic in 2020, people sewing face masks in their homes and in workshops, making face shields for healthcare workers with 3D printers at home, creating networks to meet food and hygiene needs, and empowering the public with music have been lights in the darkness. With respect and gratitude, we salute all the healthcare workers around the world who have faced difficult conditions and countless obstacles in their fight against the pandemic.